August 18th, 2025. Rob Brown, Brendan Martin, ready to next hour, the best 60 minutes on the SEC you'll find anywhere. Great show today, but first, take a picture with your QR code. That's like a mason jar full of coffee.
Well, I did it this morning, sir.
I love it.
A little extra this morning in the podcast Coffee Cast.
I love it. Coffee Cast. Hey, take a picture with your phone of the QR code. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, like 8 channels live. And then reels are put out throughout the day. Brendan going nonstop. We got shows on this show, sun up to sundown, the best place to cover. We got 2 coaches with national championship rings joining us. Coach Ellis Johnson over in South Carolina, Coach Pete Cordelli in Nashville, and then Dave Bartoo in the second half from out in somewhere in Oregon with College Football Matrix. So, hey, let's go ahead and get started. I know that countdown is down. Some schools, it's less than a week. I know in Dublin, you got Kansas State playing, TCU, I believe. That's a Big 12 matchup. Any reason to go to Dublin is great. But remember, the food over there, well, if you've ever been in the Army, you could relate to it. But the whiskey's the best. But they'll have fun over there either way. But you know what, guys? On my fishing trip this weekend up in Hardy on the Spring River, 12 guys, lots of talk about college football. And nobody talked about the NIL, maybe a modicum of that. But it was all depth charts and lineups. So let's just get this thing started. College football is the greatest game there is. And I'm just going to say for the record, I'm against anything that makes it more like pro sports. Pete, let you get started. We'll just take turns. Next Monday, Coach Johnson. Well, actually, Coach Johnson's on special assignment next week. But, Pete, what are you seeing and hearing right now from college football that makes you think this is going to be just another great year and all that other stuff is a distraction for a while?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's happened, Rob, is all these kids being back on campus in June and July and getting coaching. When Coach Johnson and I first got into this business, they didn't allow freshmen or first-year players to come to summer school. You know, they had to pay their own way if they wanted to. I think that's been the biggest change. And now the NCAA for football coaches, they're allowing coaches to actually meet with their guys, coach with their guys on the field, similar to what college basketball coaches can do, where they have 2 hours a week and however most of the time they divide it up with 4 days, 30 minutes individual coaching. Well, now you can get a bunch of your install in. And the one thing we never wanted as a staff was regression in August from what we had coming out of spring practice. Now, because you got so much to do to get ready for this first game. And I just think the players, the coaches are ahead. And this last week, from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2, it was called Suffer and Survive. Because that first scrimmage, you have so many things you have to correct. But now you're in pads, and it was 1 a day. I mean, I was a couple places we had 3 a day. So
yeah,
but it's suffer and survive for these players because that first scrimmage, all the corrections are being made, and then the scrimmage is on. I know Tennessee went Friday morning. Most of the schools went Saturday. That's where you separate your first team, second team from the others who are going to be your scout team. And now you have to get ready to play that first game. So a lot of decisions being made yesterday and again today on personnel and depth charts. So I just think the college game is further ahead in some aspects, especially with receivers and quarterbacks due to the advent of 7-on-7s in high school. And the skill guys are getting more reps. But you know what? It still comes down to those big guys in the trenches.
Yeah.
And those guys got to have contact every day because that offensive line, they all got to play on a string. They got to play together. And there's got to be some kind of contact. You tell a lineman, we don't want you to hit. I mean, that'd be like asking a prize fighter, hey, look, man, we know you're boxing for the championship, but you can't spar for 10 days. You know, I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
You got to give them the tools to get better.
Yeah. Coach Johnson, parlay off of that and defensively, here it is. You're several weeks into practice and you're starting to get I'm using your term, the install for the game. What would you be looking for and what would be concerning you as a defensive coordinator at this point, getting ready for your first game, August 29th?
Well, I mean, what Pete kind of hit it over the summer, some of the skill guys can really improve and get a lot of install. It's very difficult for those guys up front. And then also, I always felt like defensively, if you don't have a good picture or a good opponent, if you will, a scout team look over there, you're kind of spinning your wheels. I mean, you can maybe go work on some blitz schemes and things like that. But I used to, Mike Dubose, who I worked for at Alabama, used to say sight, reaction, contact. Defense is sight, reaction, contact. Well, if you don't have sight to start with, in other words, there's nobody over there, trying to attack you in some way, then you don't even have your first ingredient. So that's one of the most difficult things about defense and trying to develop that without an actual scrimmage type thing going on or one-on-ones or whatever. It's very hard to develop fundamentals and techniques and things like that unless you go good on good. Yeah. I always felt like our team was a better tackling team coming out of spring than we were coming out of preseason because we worked good on good more than we did in the fall.
Pete, you used to tell me this a lot when I first met you 30 years ago. You said, you got to be hitting, you got to be, bumping offense, defensive line. It just makes you tougher day in and day out. With all these spread and hurry up, no huddles and all, it's got to be really tough to field an offensive line with any kind of depth in college. Who in the SEC do you think has the best offensive line, the best 3 or 4 groups that so far that in the last few years or going into this season at least?
Going into this season, I think Texas A&M's got the best offensive line. Alabama's next. And Georgia's going to be okay. And, Florida, they have some guys. But the one thing about a Mike Elko coach team is they're going to be fundamentally sound. Yeah. And they're going to be tough as nails. Yeah. I believe that A&M's, when you look at returning starts out of those starters, they have more guys coming back with more starts and more playing time. And anymore, because you have so many new people you're training, that says a lot. One of the examples of why Bo Nix had success with the Broncos last year is he played more football than any quarterback coming out in the draft 2 years ago, and Sean Payton loved it. Well, now you start looking at other positions. How many guys – look, you can't replace those reps, that experience, and practice matters. I don't care what Allen Iverson says. Practice matters. All right, it's truly irreplaceable, and that's why every day that you go out and practice, and I'm with Coach Johnson, we used to go one-on-one at the end of practice every Tuesday in a 20-play scrimmage. And Coach Holtz, in '87, we weren't very good, but he told the team, you're going to play 2 games a week. The one on Saturday, everybody knows about. But the one on Tuesday, we're going to play a minimum 20 plays, and it's full contact, go. And we're going to grade you guys. So on Tuesday, if you had to drive going, we kept it going. But we'd come in, coaches shower, go eat dinner, come back, and we'd grade the practice film like it was game film. And then Wednesday morning, we'd meet, and whoever graded out the highest, those were the guys that were going to start on Saturday. Yeah. Well, we also posted the depth chart on Wednesday morning at 6:30. Well, the starters at Notre Dame got 4 tickets for home games. Everybody else got 2. There must have been 50 guys down there at 6:15 going, am I getting my 4 tickets this week?
Oh, wow.
So there was a little incentive to what Coach Holtz had going. And you know what, Rob? We started out the year 8-0. Unfortunately, we had some guys get banged up, but competition, that's why you always have to recruit better than what you have. I mean, that's how you build your team.
Coach Johnson, this is awesome. I'm just going to throw it to you. Looking at the defensive lines in the SEC, and that's the premium position as offensive or defensive lineman. Who are the top 3 or 4 groups at that position in the conference out of the 16?
Rob, I am terrible on rosters. I
Yeah.
don't watch them as much. I got so frustrated with all this NIL portal stuff.
Oh yeah.
Guys coming in and out and so forth. And I really don't know position groups that much for the various teams.
Yeah.
I think Georgia is always going to be good. I think they recruit to that. I think that's the way they prepare. So they're going to be good. And I think Texas A&M's have a good defensive front too. But, to sit there and talk about the different players and the teams and everything, I really don't know.
Well, we need the ticker under here, like the stock market with all the guys transferring in the portal. And I agree with you. And I'm just saying, in this environment, guys, you think if you've got an impact player, but how hard is it, Ellis, when you think about a defensive lineman, there are not that many Carl Lawsons or Montravius Adams or Jadeveon Clowney's out there. But when one of those guys comes in as a true freshman, is there any hesitancy about starting them? Or are you like, hey, if he's the best, I have no problems with it? Did you ever have a dilemma about that?
Absolutely not. And the thing that was such a big part of it, usually if he was good enough, you think about starting him or playing him as a freshman, you weren't going to have him but 3 years unless there was an injury year. Yeah. So what are you saving him for? And you get 2 years out of him, you might as well recruit junior colleges. So, we played him as early and as often as we possibly could. And we talk about this all the time with the big guys. If you ever lose a big guy early in a game to conditioning or you strip him out, he's not going to come back that game to a normal pace. Receiver can do it. Skill guys can do it. Big guys can't do it. Once they're gone, they're gone. So you got to have depth.
Yeah. Pete, looking at what Coach just said, no problem at all. I'm in that camp. The guy, if a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup. He's good to go. Looking at the top teams in the country now, I'm going to make a case for Clemson. And it's not because Coach has a son who's a preferred walk-on, redshirt sophomore, Charlie, on that Clemson team. But Dabo's kept a lot of guys together. And you look at the 2 best, I think, defensive linemen on the front for Clemson, T.J. Bryant out of Phoenix City Central and Peter Woods out of Thompson and Alabaster. That's a scary lineup right there.
Yeah, I think Dabo gets beat up about not going to the portal much. And you know what? I just don't – those folks want to be negative. Dabo has a plan. He knows what he wants done, when he wants it done, and how he wants it done. Yeah. And his whole thing is development and retention. Yeah. Development and retention. And, in today's game, like Coach Johnson said, you get frustrated with the portal because you don't have time to develop guys in how you want them to play and make them better in your scheme, in your system. Dabo kind of shakes his head. He laughs. A couple of years ago when Klubnik was a freshman and Woods was a freshman, they took their lumps. But guess what? This Clemson team is following the plan of so many other of those great Clemson teams that Dabo's had. Yep. They've been developed over time. Now you have the corner to go with it. You have some receivers that are pretty good. And hiring Matt Luke as the offensive line coach 2 years ago really helped them. When Clemson was good, they had a guy that I thought might have been the best D-line coach in the country, but I know he was the best darn D-line recruiter in Dan Brooks. And Danny Brooks, man, he left no stone unturned. Yeah. And now, since Danny retired, they had a little bit of, like you said earlier, staffs are so important. They've had a little bit of a staff change over there. But now Chris Rumpf has come in, and he has picked up right where Danny Brooks left off. And that D-line is going to be something. Now, you put him against LSU in the first game. LSU has to replace 4 offensive starters out of 5 up front. And I just got to believe that this Clemson defense, especially with their new coordinator, they're going to be getting after LSU's offense, and I can't wait to watch that game next weekend.
Yeah, Coach Johnson, thinking about that, the defensive line and a bunch of guys who played together. And I like what Pete said about a quarterback, Bo Nix. He started 55 or 60 games in 5 years. Last week, remember y'all said I'd be blitzing Arch Manning before he got off the bus. Looking at that Clemson LSU game, Tennessee and Syracuse, Auburn and Baylor, Alabama at Florida State. Which one of those has you most concerned for the SEC school, whether it's a home or road game, and they're all on the road, it seems?
Yeah, I think you got to say LSU. Texas, of course, has got a monumental task with a brand new quarterback, but I think they can probably recover. If LSU loses that first game, it'll be a little harder on them, I think, maybe to get going. Texas doesn't have as many question marks preseason as LSU may. Yeah. I think, I tell you, Clemson's thing, I think that they may have as many first rounders and second rounders on that team as they've had in probably 6 or 8 years. I'm a little concerned about their depth, and especially for those big guys that we mentioned a little earlier. If you get them tired too early in the game, you never get them back. So I'm a little concerned about the quality of depth, but have seen them scrimmage, and I was impressed with them. They're a little bit simpler and playing a little faster on defense, I think. And then I think the amount of experience they've got in the offensive line coming back, and the quarterback, who's third-year starter, which is unheard of today in portal time. They're really ready for an opening game against somebody like LSU. But it's going to be a good game. I wouldn't begin to predict it.
Yeah. Pete, you think about this quarterback position. You've coached a lot of quarterbacks. You coached one, Tony Rice, from Woodruff, South Carolina. Did you recruit Tony?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this question. I ask this to every coach. I've asked it to Coach Johnson. If you went to a recruit's house and they served you dinner and it was just awful, what would you do after you finished your first plate? Ask for seconds or just say, I'm done?
I'd ask for seconds. Hey, man, I mean, come on. You got to know who's making that decision. And that mama, she's looking at you like, you don't like my cooking. I don't know if I can trust you with my boy.
That's right. I just thought.
Hey, Rob, I'm going to tell you a true story. This is the guy I coached with at Memphis State years ago, and he's at Michigan State. So for Christmas, his wife buys him a brand new full-length leather coat. Beautiful coat. His first recruiting visit in January, he goes into a home and a mom gives him fried chicken. He hates chicken.
Yeah.
So she's going back and forth from the kitchen to this coach and giving it to him. He's taking it and putting it in the pocket of the leather coat. She thinks he's eating it.
Oh.
Finally, he goes, "No, ma'am, I've had enough." The visit's over. He goes out, gets in the car. He goes, "Thank God I gotta go find a restaurant. I'm hungry." He looks down. He has a grease stain in that leather coat that won't come out. It ruined it.
Oh, God. I mean, I just think about recruiting. It's like that in business, man. You're just like, your stomach's in knots, All right, Coach Johnson, let's look at this. Dave Bartoo is going to come on in a second. One of the things that he uses in his matrix, college football matrix, on predictability for quarterbacks getting to the NFL, he does look at the number of games that they start. Coach, you're at Florida State. Their quarterback has said Nick Saban's not there anymore. You call it bulletin board material or whatever, but if you're Alabama, you're going on the road. You've got to be aggressive. How are you going to attack Florida State? Because it's a completely new roster. What do you know about them?
Well, and I think the interesting aspect involved in this is Gus going to put in his old offense? I mean, is it going to be the power and the counter and all that good stuff? Yeah. And the quarterback, he got Cam Newton ready, and I know Cam had a lot of tools. Yeah. He got Cam Newton ready in 3 months. And then when we played Florida State in the championship game, He got a junior college defensive back ready in 3 months, Nick.
Yeah.
And so he's had to do this before. It is an offensive system. I'm assuming, I don't know what he's going to run.
Yeah.
It's not a complicated passing game. There's not a lot of a lot of secondary reads and so forth in the pocket on third down. And so I think mentally, if it runs the scheme he's usually run, it's an easier system for a young quarterback. Now, the execution of it and so forth is going to be important. But I think that Alabama is going to pressure him, and Kane's going to pressure him anyhow. I don't care if they had Joe Namath over there.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't see Florida State having a really, really good shot at winning that game.
Yeah. All right, Pete, Auburn's going to go to Baylor. Dave Aranda, he's familiar with the SEC. He won a national championship at LSU. Baylor, when they put in Sawyer Robertson, I think he was a quarterback. Mike Leach brought him to Mississippi State. And then he transferred to Baylor. What is Auburn? Hugh Freeze needs to just somehow find ways to win. And they've lost games the last 2 years. They've almost found ways to lose them. But talk about that matchup in Waco 11 days from now.
I like Auburn. Look, I've known Hugh Freeze a long time. Guy's a good football coach.
Yeah.
He's got a good staff. Ken Austin does an excellent job calling plays. And I just think defensively, DJ is going to have them getting after it a little bit. But the talent level now has gotten a whole lot better at Auburn than when Hugh first came in. On the offensive side, the receivers they have are pretty darn good. It will be an interesting game in the first half, as most first games are, but those second half adjustments are going to be critical as to how you're going to compete. It's going to be hot, but it's hot at Auburn, so weather's not a factor. And like Coach Johnson said, you got to be smart in how you're going to rotate your guys. I like Auburn, though, going down there, and I look for Auburn to make some noise this year and be better than they have been the last 2 years. And Hugh knows what he's up against, and that staff knows. And I promise you, this is the most talented team that Auburn's seen in a number of years.
Yeah, roster's back up. I think it's 64%, 4 and 5 stars on that blue chip roster. And last year was the lowest it had been at 51%, which was 16th best in the country. So, Coach Johnson, another game, Tennessee and Syracuse. Now, I'm going to be down in Atlanta. I'm going to get on the MARTA. Our daughter, they were moving in. They're actually moving in this week. We're going to wait till they finish before we go down there, but I'm excited about it. But Tennessee and Syracuse, I'm impressed with Fran Brown, what he did at Georgia. I watched a lot of ACC Network and Big Ten Network. I love to watch all over the country. That guy gets everything out of his players, but they lost a lot. McCord's gone at quarterback. Tennessee's going to be breaking. Does Tennessee, by the way, you think they got a real quarterback battle? It looks like Mecklinger, the kid out of Calvary Day School down in Savannah, Georgia, isn't going to just, step aside to give it to Aguilar.
Yeah, I think Fran did as good a job as anybody in the country last year, but you've already hit on it. They had tremendous losses, and I don't think they've replaced it in recruiting or the portal, not nearly to the degree of the players they lost. The quarterback position at Tennessee is critical, and especially in that scheme and that system, but they got one of the best quarterback coaches running the program. So he'll have somebody ready to run that offense. Yeah. I think Tennessee may have a little drop off on defense, but not much. But I really think they're 2 touchdowns better than Syracuse.
Wow. And then the next day you can have South Carolina and Virginia Tech. So, and by the way, Pete, have you watched Any Given Saturday? Brendan told me about it. I started watching it last night. I mean, you can't stop watching it. My advice is don't watch it near bedtime because you won't stop. It is really strong. And Brian Kelly, say what you want, man. That is part of being a coach. He lets a few expletives rip, and so be it. Coach, did you ever get mad at practice?
Me?
Either one of y'all.
Oh my goodness.
No,
If you're not mad, something's not getting done, you know?
That's right.
never. But I've never been as mad at practice as I would be sometimes in the press box during a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you've done something all week and
Yeah.
you've harped on it and it's not right on the field, that's when you don't want somebody next door in the wrong booth overhearing what you said.
Especially when you're on the road. We're at
Yeah.
Notre Dame. We're playing
Yeah.
Tennessee in Knoxville at 90. And we're moving the ball. And all of a sudden we get down to the 3-yard line. And in their booth, they have windows that are dividers. So you can see up and down the press box. We run a power play on first down, and we get stuffed because our right tackle goes the wrong freaking way. And all of a sudden I jump up and I go, no! And I hit, and I'm right next to the PA announcer in that booth. I have a ring, my wedding ring on, and it hits and it starts reverberating. And everybody looks around and I'm like, okay, just so long as you didn't have your microphone on and the whole stadium heard it. So now we come back and Coach Holtz is like, what in the hell? And I said, Coach, we got this. So we line up in the dead tee. You know, that was our goal line short yardage offense, Coach Johnson. We hand the ball to Rocket, left side. He goes in, scores. So all of a sudden I hear, why didn't you call that earlier? It's Coach,
Well,
I got you, brother.
Well, I mean, it is just, it's amazing. And Pete, look, next week, if you can go a full 60 with us, we want you to do that because Coach is going to be on special assignment. We're going to bring in Dave Bartoo from College Football Matrix. This is some incredible stuff. And I don't know, Pete, if you've seen, but Dave, we got Pete Cordelli, who coached for a long time at Notre Dame and Arkansas and Kent State, and then Coach Ellis Johnson here. Some smart, couple of national championship rings. But by the way, I got to compliment you, Dave. You were putting stuff out on Twitter all weekend, and I was up on the Spring River catching fish, and the guys were like, good Lord, where do you come up with this stuff? Because those numbers, to use a Mississippi State cowbell term, ring true. They are very, very true.
It's just concepts, right? That's all I do. I just tell stories with numbers. You know, you got guys that are get to tell stories with experience, and I'm just reading tea leaves. That's it. So, and you know, my goal, as I've always told you, Rob, is I'm trying to simplify college football, and I'm trying to make the fans think for themselves. You know, and give them some new concepts in terms of how other people can look at college football. So I'm glad you liked what I was putting out this weekend.
It was a lot. Even Audrey, my wife, was like, wow. I mean, the numbers and the graphics, impressive. We're talking about, with Coach Johnson and Coach Cordelli, both of them, about these matchups early on. And the SEC, they're all road games. I mean, Auburn at Baylor, Texas at Ohio State, you know, LSU at Clemson, Alabama at Florida State. We asked the coaches about them. What really jumps out? And then I want to go kind of rapid fire with these guys asking you questions, because getting inside their brains, they have forgotten way more than I know. I'm just going to play, as Buddy Martin calls me, I'm going to play point guard here in a minute. But tell us about those matchups real quick.
Oh, man. Well, it's intimidating to get rapid fire from guys wearing national championship rings from my point of view in college football. But, you know, the early games that jump out, I don't know if there's anything that jumps out in so much that I'm curious. This is the pessimistic guy in me, is I'm curious which one we're going to look back on and go, ooh, God, neither one of those teams were any good. We always get one of those a year, right? You know? And so I'm curious as to, you know, we might look back on Texas, Ohio State and go, you know, that quarterback never had any experience for Texas. He needs another year. And man, Ohio State, they're still partying from that national title game. So, and you ain't going to blame Ohio State if they don't care this year, because they got to the top of the mountain. And I think that's a real thing to consider. I think that was probably one of the biggest things that nobody ever talked about with Nick Saban relative to other championship coaches, was his ability to restart the next year and not have the drop off, right? Not have the Texas, we struggled to get to the top of the mountain and then boom, right off the end of it. Michigan, not this last time, but their championship before took them 20 years to even get close again. So I think the hangover is real there. As for the early game,
Do what, Pete?
Then they had to cheat to do it. Don't get me started on Michigan. When you're at Notre Dame, there's no bigger rivalry than those ugly helmets. Sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I love the hate. I mean, but that's that's the kind of passion that drives college football.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I got to say, I almost went off the road. I was laughing so hard yesterday thinking about that guy that was disguised in a mustache and glasses. I think of Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther, the guy at the practices. But Coach Johnson, get started. One thing funny, too, Tony Barnhart's going to be tonight at the Touchdown Club in Memphis, Mr. College Football, kind of what he's calling his farewell tour. He's not going to go away. He's just not going to be doing deadlines every day, but Touchdown Club in Memphis tonight. I'm fired up about that. But Coach Johnson, get in here. I know you've got questions, and then we'll kind of go back, you and then Pete, and then we're going to be listening to – I know y'all got some questions because you see things differently than we do.
Gosh, I don't know where to start because I've been on here with Dave a few times, and the facts and the numbers and the things that he comes up with and studies and some of it I would have never really thought that was important to predict an outcome or how a team's going to be. But I guess I'd ask one question. We've been talking about quarterbacks a lot. What do you think the biggest factor is? Numbers of games played as a successful starter or just physical tools?
Snaps, and but also physical tools, right? We do one of the, I guess, products that my firm has is advanced player identification, early player identification, and the goal is to find the we worked with MIT and Michigan State and Purdue and Johns Hopkins and revised our NFL draft foundational athleticism modeling for youth, so 8 to 18. And our goal for college football programs is identify the diamonds in the rough that don't go to camps, find the kids 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds before anybody else. And there's 3 pillars of elite athletic performance, in our opinion. The foundational athleticism, the tools you're talking about, game IQ, which I believe only comes with snaps, and then the mental stamina, how tough is your brain? And I think when you're talking about quarterbacks, though, that's a different animal, because I think a lot of the tools from a quarterback side are more intangible. But if you look at everybody successful at the NFL level, outside of Cam Newton, you need a minimum of 2 years of snaps, minimum. I mean, that's one of the cardinal rules of drafting a quarterback. If he doesn't have 24 games, don't draft him. Unless his name's Cam Newton, he's going to fail. They all do. None of them make it at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Cam was arguably the most physically tooled person we've ever seen on the college football field. So, but I think the snaps, I think being an environment that tests you, right? As much as we love watching teams or quarterbacks put up video game numbers at Texas or LSU and so forth, if they weren't tested on Saturday, if they were surrounded by elite talent, both in their roster and with the coaching staff, I don't think it's a very good environment for a quarterback to learn the position as well as other guys that are at, let's say, maybe a lesser program where more is required of them. But back to your question, though, to me, and it's not just quarterbacks, it's every single position is snaps. If you have the physical tools, right, if you're born with it, that will come. Doesn't matter where you go to school. Travis Hunter showed us that, right? The physical tools, and to me, Travis Hunter is a great example of that. Just go out there, kid, and just get a ton of snaps and learn and try to stay healthy, and the rest will come.
Yeah. Pete?
Dave, your stuff is great. I love reading your stuff. First question, what brand of tea leaves do you use? I want to get some. So, second thing.
Yeah, it's called XL.
There you go. Second thing, Jam Miller, the starting running back for Alabama, got knocked out. He had surgery Saturday night.
Yep.
And Joey Aguilar, at Tennessee, named Aguilar the starting quarterback this morning. How does that change your perspective on those two teams? And I do have another question after you answer that.
It doesn't change my perspective at all. Okay. Remember at the beginning of the show, I talked about how I try to simplify college football.
Right.
I do everything I can to not pay attention to the rosters.
Gotcha.
Right. I can't look at 134 teams and keep track of every single player. It's just physically impossible. Right.
Yep.
So now I hear about these things, but from an Alabama standpoint or a Georgia standpoint, this is why you recruit the top 10. So you have the depth.
No doubt.
Right. So maybe you don't have the experienced guys. So my perception of Alabama hasn't changed. Okay. There are 6 teams that check off all the boxes for a national championship team. Okay. Do you have an offense and defensive coordinator graded above 3.5 stars? Okay. All 25 national titles, because that's one of the things my company does. Is we've been grading coaches at every level for 20 years. So do you have a 3.5 star or better offense and defensive coordinator? Yeah. Every national champion has had that, right? 23 of 25 are top 10 in high school recruiting. Okay, no portal, just high school recruiting, 23 of 25. The other 2 winners had first round NFL draft pick quarterbacks. So Alabama has the staff and the player talent to be a national championship contender. So they may have lost a guy, but that's college football, right? Now it might be exacerbated more because there's less depth with the portal. There's less player consistency, but it doesn't change my opinion of Alabama. Now Tennessee, here is an interesting one. Joey Aguilar. So I put this out on Twitter over the weekend, and I have a little metric called quarterback effect. And quarterback effect is kind of like WAR in baseball, wins above replacement. How good are you above average? Joey Aguilar's WAR is -5 games at App State. Okay. In layman's terms, that stinks.
Yep.
Okay. So I see a guy in Joey Aguilar at App State that underperformed the talent. Okay. He took snaps. He had 2 years of snaps, but he wasn't good. He didn't elevate his team. So if you can't elevate App State, you're not elevating Tennessee. But Josh Heupel is a top 15 offensive coordinator. And Josh Heupel can work some magic. Look what he did with Hooker. Okay. He took Hooker, who was at a average staff at Virginia Tech with average numbers. It took a full year, took 2020, and then boom, we got some Heupel magic in 2021. With a guy that, with a quarterback effect that was pretty low. So for Tennessee, I feel that you got a downgrade in quarterback, and I think it's going to be a full year. Tennessee, Josh is really, really good. The defense is still good. You're still talking about a top 15 high school recruiter. But if there's one weakness, it is Joey Aguilar. And it's not his ability. It's just more of his inability so far to have learned the position, and it's on Josh to change that, and it might not kick in until 2026.
Yeah.
I've written a book called Making the Grade, and it's a combination of academics and athletics, but I also have a workbook. I worked for the Cowboys in 81 and 82, and we had a position-specific metric that we graded all our players on. Mm-hmm. When we went to Notre Dame in 86, we were a bad football team now. I mean, my goodness. I credit Coach Faust for trying to get it done, but what we had to do So Coach Holtz came in and said, let's go to position specifics. Well, we did that. But here's how we graded players. If I'm recruiting Rob Brown as a running back, the running back coach, the O-line coach, and the offensive coordinator, plus one defensive coach, had to watch Rob and sign off on him. If I'm coaching Rob Brown, the safety, Coach Johnson, the defensive coordinator, the secondary coach, another defensive coach, and offensive coach had to sign off. So in 87, 88, 89, 90, with 25 scholarships to give, out of the 100 kids we signed doing our research this way, we had 41 guys go to the NFL and 7 more signed as free agents.
Wow.
It was the best 5-year period in Notre Dame's history of developing players. But we also told them, and this goes back to your grading the staff, if you can start for us here at Notre Dame, you should play on Sunday in the NFL. That's how confident we are in how we're going to develop you. And I love the metric you do with the coaching staff because so many people want to talk about the head coach. Coach Holtz used to say, Jesus died leaning on his staff. Well, guess what? Football coaches do too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
And Ellis knows that because, man, we've been around some guys, Coach Johnson, haven't we?
I got to say, this is as cool as hanging out in a bar and passed out on the bar and waking up and the Stones and Led Zeppelin are in there playing. This is awesome.
Yeah,
keep
well,
going.
that's Rob. That's just because he mentioned your name and getting drafted to the NFL. So your sports pants are tight right now.
I've seen Rob run. When I was in Memphis, I used to watch Rob run. So, it's he's got some ability, but don't ask him to change direction.
Well,
he has no COD, and that's not cash on delivery, baby.
Right. Well, it's interesting though. So here's how what we do is change the evolution of that recruiting though, Pete. Okay, is you notice how you said you had to have 4, 5, 6 coaches all watch the film and sign off on the kid. Okay, but how did you find the kid at a camp? Was he referred? See, and so, and how many kids did you watch where you wasted a ton of time? Right.
That's okay, but Dave, at Notre Dame now, not everybody's for Notre Dame, and everybody's it's so we went from 150 on our board to 300. So
right.
And back then, we were living in the dark ages, man. I mean, this is when. I don't know. Guys were starting to put stars on. I don't know where they got the stars from, but there were some guys. And I got to be honest, the academic component of it had a big factor in it. So there were some other things, but we ended up as coach. We didn't have the support staffs that they have now in college, right, Coach John? I mean, the only thing that's increased in college football staffs are analysts and off the field people. Oh my God! When we had to do all that, didn't we, Ellis?
Oh yeah, and a little thing to add to that about Notre Dame. I was sitting around with John Palermo and a couple other coaches. We were on the road recruiting in Birmingham, and we said, man, it must be really have a sales or a product like Notre Dame. Recruiting must be a whole lot easier than some of the places you've been. He said, guys, y'all do not understand. He said, all of our alumni and all the other people who are connected with Notre Dame, every one of them out there have a great player that we got to go evaluate. He said, we spend 80% of our time eliminating players that can't play for us.
Exactly.
So it's Notre Dame was not a real easy recruiting job from a standpoint of elbow grease. I mean, it would work your butt to death on wasted players until you got to the ones that you wanted that you could get. I mean, let's just say that. I mean, Notre Dame can get them, but you had to work through all that stuff. And like you said, we didn't have the things you could sit in the office and watch 300 kids on a given day with your staff. You had to go out there and physically find them and look at them and get the film and go through the process. And he said it was a hard labor, baby.
Yeah. Dave, listening to these two tell the real story, and you do look at numbers, but you're able to extrapolate from those numbers so much information, all the minutia, and put it in the vernacular. You're brilliant. That's your brilliance, as are the lights out gummies. And by the way, if you want to get a good night's sleep, these things work. I'm telling you firsthand experience, and you don't wake up with a sleep hangover, and you'll be more productive the next day. So buy them. You get that code, the discount code Sidelines. They ship them out. I had a friend of mine, Pierre T. Landash. Yes, he's French, LSU fan from Baton Rouge, was on the trout fishing trip in Memphis. He ordered some last night. He goes, it's so easy, even Jethro can do it. It's very easy to use that app. We were watching the Beverly Hillbillies channel last night. I have to throw that in. But Dave, what these two guys just said about the numbers.
Yes.
And then you look at predictability of players. And it's getting back to the NFL is saying, hey, these guys, look at Mac Jones. He started, 17, 18 games, had a little early success. You're saying it's hard to sustain that unless you've got a lot of college snaps under you, correct?
Yeah. But Mac Jones was one of the guys I was just like, dude, you got 12 games of snaps at Alabama. You're not going to make it. I think it was fortuitous that he landed at a place like New England that has one of the best game control coaches in the NFL. But it was short-lived. There was only so much you could do with that. And again, it just goes back to compartmentalizing these guys and looking at where they're coming from. But you got to look at the snaps and what they did to elevate their team. That's the other thing. Because if you can't carry the bag, it's real simple to me. If you can't carry the bags on Saturday, you're not carrying the bags on Sunday. Really easy. Really easy, right? If you can't help Pete win above talent, you're not helping Pete Carroll win above talent. If you can't help Ellis Johnson win above talent at Auburn, you're not doing it Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. So, but specifically at the quarterback level.
Dave, can I ask you a question? See,
yeah,
being around coaching quarterbacks as long as I have, people are always making this, especially this time of year, that young quarterbacks have a hard time making it in the NFL. I've had the opportunity to work with a number of young kids.
Yes.
Do you ever take into account the hash marks on a field? And here's why. In high school, the hash marks are 17 yards from each sideline. So you have a third, and a third. All right? That's 51. Each hash is one. That's 52, 53. Forget the third. A football field's 53 and a third yard wide. In college, the hash marks are 20 yards from the sideline. So that's 20 and 20 is 40, 41, 42. The middle of the field's 11 yards wide. In the National Football League, the hashes are 23 and 23. That's 46. Hash 47, hash 48. The middle of the field is 5 yards wide in the NFL.
Yeah.
I've got a 9th grade quarterback who's got the ball on the right hash trying to throw a go route down the red line on the left hash, and he can't get it there. Yet I hear all these people say, oh, well, when it comes to drafting quarterbacks, we don't know if he can make the deep out throw. Are you kidding me? Put him on a high school hash and make him throw the deep out. We have this, but in baseball, from the time I'm 12, I'm throwing 60 feet, 6 inches. I can paint the corners. I can do what I want. In basketball, the three-point arc stays the same. But in football, no one, and I asked Mike Shula this one time. Mike had left Miami and gone to Alabama. I said, what's your biggest difference? He said, hash marks. In high school, you have 5 launch points for the quarterback. Left hash, left upright, goalpost, right upright, right hash, because of the field markings and spacing. In college, you have 3. Left hash, middle of the field, right hash. In the NFL, you have 2. Yeah. But nobody talks about, now the angles of the receivers in the NFL are different coming out of their breaks than they are in college. And obviously the DBs and linebackers are fast. Nobody talks about the hash marks and the adjustments that college quarterbacks have to make going to the NFL.
Interesting. God, I've never heard that. I love you, Pete. Man.
Dave, I'm telling you, here's what really gets me. I got a 9th grade dad come up to me and go, Coach, what's wrong with my son? I said, nothing. It's not his fault. He said, what do you mean? I said, he's not strong enough. He can't get the ball. In every drill that I did coaching quarterbacks, we never threw into the wind. Never. We always threw with the wind because I don't want guys having the ball go flutter and then all of a sudden, boom, bad body language. But the hash marks, Dave, I promise you, if we could somehow get high school guys to play off college hash marks, their transition to the NFL would be quicker. But when you only have 5 yards in the middle of the field, and Coach Johnson can identify this, it's a whole lot easier to play Tampa 2 in the NFL than it is college or high school.
We quit
because
playing.
When that Mike linebacker has to run with number 3 on the vertical, shoot, he's standing right next to him. I can't tell you how many high school coaches go, well, with the ball on the hash and they're 3-by-1 to the field, we're going to play Tampa 2. And I'm going, dude, your cat doesn't run 4-5. That number 3 receiver is going to take the top off, and your safeties are bouncing outside. Why do you put that kid in a no-win situation? Yeah. And why do you put a young quarterback in a no-win situation trying to throw the go route to the wide side of the field?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, hash marks make a huge difference in how you call a play.
Yeah. Ellis, what were you going to say? Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah. You said y'all stopped playing cover 2 or Tampa 2?
It took me about 2 or 3 years to quit playing Tampa 2 on college hash marks. I mean, it just, first of all, people learned how to attack it.
Yep.
Second of all, the exact thing that Pete's talking about, you can't run with the vertical with all that space on the wide side of the field. And the little old thing, Don Powers, one time we went to East Carolina together, and he figured out the ball is on or near the hash. By near, it's close enough to the hash, you might as well consider it the hash. 87% of the times the ball is snapped in college, it's a hash mark game. Yep. And so a lot of stuff that worked in college on defense, like corner blitzes off the weak side and stuff, you get home, you try that off the pro hash, you said, the ball's out and you ain't halfway home. There's just so many things defensively it affects. I see clearly what Pete's trying to say to Dave about the hash marks. It is a huge deal, and I'm sure it is with the quarterbacks in the passing game.
Dave,
the guy that gave us this when we're at Notre Dame and we're getting ready to play Miami with Michael Irvin. First and second down, Michael played at X. Yeah. On third down, Gary Stevens was their offensive coordinator, did a great job of calling offense. They would take Michael Irvin and move him into number 3. Well, nobody was doing a nickel dime package deal. So now Michael Irvin at 6'3", 215 is matched up with an inside linebacker. We're watching this on film. And it's like, holy cow, how do we match up? And so what we did was we said, fine, Todd Light, our corner, who played in the NFL for a long time, we made him play man-to-man on Irvin no matter where he went. And then we played 10-on-10 defense, right, Ellis? Yep. So you match up. But Miami used to take advantage of people by moving Irvin into number 3, and then there isn't a linebacker in America that can cover the guy. And here they are. Boom, they're dinking and dunking, or they're throwing the seam route and doing all that. So we started looking at it. We started moving Timmy Brown in there. We started moving Rocket Ismail in there. And it's like, and all of a sudden, now defenses have to go to nickel and dime things, and then we get some different packages. Well, when we're running trap option, that gives us the opportunity to get Tony Rice on the perimeter. So, but the hash marks, I got off track there, but that's how we got to it of not playing the Tampa 2. Ellis, like you said, when they put Irvin at number 3, we couldn't run with him.
Yeah. Dave, you know what they're saying, there are people, like say Mr. Sip, it's still amateur football, but is it anymore with what you look at the numbers, people forget college football is still amateur football. Respond to that statement. But what Coach Johnson and Coach Cordelli just said is powerful stuff.
It is. And one of the things that I love about that to me falls in the psychological part of the game. Yeah. Right. What Pete's talking about is a quarterback's vision.
Yes.
right? And how it affects him psychologically. And I see the same thing with, like with the college game. You only get to go on the road to the same place twice. So psychologically, it's hard to adapt, right? And so anything that falls into that psychological bucket, right? That's stuff that we can't explain with data. I don't have an answer for it, but I understand what Pete is saying in that what that quarterback is now seeing at high school. Wait a minute, on this play, the linebacker was here. Now he's 8 degrees here. Now he's, oh my God, this guy's right in my freaking face. And so you got a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old that calls one play and it's spread out, and then it gets compressed, and then it gets compressed more. But my response to that would be like, but it's all the same field. Everybody's on, it's like a PGA golf course. You the harder the golf course, the more let's say the fairways are compressed, but everybody's still playing on that field. So I think that I would agree with Pete from the standpoint of standardizing everything like baseball and basketball, right? So as kids grow up psychologically, it's the same thing. But at the same time, there's not different fields in the NFL. They're all the same. So when people come in, the learning curve is the same. And maybe it makes it tougher for some
the
guys.
coaching staffs are different. And that's where you're rating a coach. Caleb Williams last year, he didn't get coached worth a darn coming from college to the end. Now Ben Johnson's all over him. So this idea that Caleb can't make it, Caleb can make it. He just needs to be coached better.
Guys, now there's another problem when you go to the NFL. And Joe Namath told us when I was at Alabama, we invited him to come back and do something for the team. And he said, well, fellas, I'd like to, but he said, my daughter's got a dance recital that weekend. And the only person I know that can be in two places at one time is an NFL corner.
Well, I mean,
that's one of your problems when they get to the NFL. A lot of those players in the NFL can be in two places at one time. You might see him somewhere, but don't throw the ball in there.
I hadn't seen people that are this smart get this excited since watching Dad and other engineers talking about concrete and tensile strength and sway in a building. This is awesome. Dave, go ahead. We're going to go a little long. We're going a little long today, okay?
No way. I just want to hear the stories. You got to understand from my perspective. Wow. I didn't coach, right? I didn't play. And so, I have, like I said, I have my little storytelling niche, but the real life experiences of Pete and Ellis are far. I got a front row seat, so I'm just being entertained, boss.
Well, I'm going to tell you something too. What I love about it, and y'all keep going, I'm just playing point guard today, is you just love the game. And I notice, and Dave, you and I, as guys who didn't play college or coach, when you see these players, and I know a good many that played in the NFL and all, and they talk about those relationships they had with their coaches. Guys like Pete Cordelli, who gets a little passionate, which I love. You cannot beat it. By the way, Ellis, Pete also has an older brother like you do who graduated from West Point. He had two that graduated from West Point.
Didn't know that.
So leadership runs in these coaches' families, I can tell you that. But, Dave, looking at what's going on in college football now, I love the magazines. Right now you got Lindy's Athlons and Phil Steele. When you start breaking down and looking at the predictive models, the SEC, college football as a whole, who are your top teams that you think have the best chance to win the national championship this year?
Well, like I said, you start looking to check off the boxes.
We can hear you typing, Pete, or somebody. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. You start looking at you check off the boxes of who is been winning it the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I start with the first thing I start with is what did they do last year? Yeah, I have a metric, and I've been giving it to the playoff committee for some period of time. It's a simple scoring efficiency metric. Okay. And when the ball's snapped, how many points do you score? How many points do you give up per snap? Okay. In the last 25 years, every national title winner was top 25 the previous year in offense and defensive combined scoring efficiency. Okay. So number one, you have to be good to be great. Okay. We've never had somebody basically suck one year or not even be average one year and turn around and win a national title. And then I'll look at the coaching staffs. What's the offensive coordinator grade? What's the defensive coordinator grade? Every single team that has won a national title has had an offensive and a defensive coordinator, 3.5 stars or better. Most of them, it's all 4.5, 5-star guys. Okay. So I'll take coaching staffs and eliminate it. Right. So in the SEC, we throw out Kentucky, we throw out Mississippi State, we throw out LSU, right? Just off of coaching alone. And then the big one is going to be where are you recruiting at? Okay. You look at your last 4 years. If you're in the top 10 in the last 4 years, moving average, right? You've won 23 out of 25 national titles. Okay. If you take the last 25 years, all high school recruiting numbers, and I'm not saying they're perfect, but they correlate more to winning and losing than anything else out there. The top 11 high school recruiters of the last 25 years own 23 of the last 25 national titles as well. Right. And we're talking about going to a 32 or a 36 team playoff. So when you break it all down in that manner, you have Alabama, but their hole in the system is they got a new quarterback.
Yeah.
You got Georgia, their hole in the system, they got a new quarterback. Texas, their hole in the system, all of that works, but they have a new quarterback. And Steve Sarkisian, as a head coach, is not graded anywhere near a Kirby Smart or a Kalen DeBoer. Okay.
Wow.
He figures out a way to lose one game below talent almost every year. You have Oregon that checks all the boxes. You have Ohio State doesn't check all the boxes because they have a new defensive coordinator and a new offensive coordinator. That offensive coordinator is called as many offensive plays as Ellis Johnson. Okay. So, we can't trust that guy right now. And you have Notre Dame. Notre Dame's in there. I had Notre Dame, one of my 5 teams last year. And I said in November that the 2 best teams in the country were Ohio State and Notre Dame. If you just simply went by scoring efficiency, those were the 2 best teams in college football. Stop talking about strength of schedule because it doesn't mean anything. So that's your group of teams right now, right? That's it. I think this year we might get an anomaly because we don't have the depth we used to have, and we got more games, so there's more injuries. So as that goes on, I think stranger things happen. I don't think it's as consistent as it could be. But if trends are made to be broken, but for the last 25 years, man, you got to have talent coaching. You got to have talent on the roster, and you had to be good last year. If you don't have any one of those things, that team never wins the national title.
Yeah. And Coach, you talked about no team's ever gone from being horrible to great, except that 2012 Auburn, which was, my dad reminded me, the worst team since 1950 when Auburn went 0-10 and lost to Wofford. And Coach Johnson's first year at Auburn, they're right there next to a national championship against Florida State. It's hard to do.
Tell him, Pete.
Florida State last year.
But they didn't go from horrible to the national. They went from on top to the bottom.
Yeah, went the other way.
Yeah. And that counts too. That counts. Yeah, Coach Johnson, but the brilliance in all of this is when you look at the numbers, it makes sense. And I'm telling you, it is intimidating talking football with people who know as much as y'all in a way. But if you listen, I'm going to go back and watch this show 3 times today when I'm having a gummy tonight. But Coach Johnson, what he just said about experience matters and continuity. I've heard Billy Napier say this multiple times, and you've known Billy since he was 21. And you watch him, he says, we got a lot of guys in this building that have been here for 2 or 3 or 4 years. that, you know what matters, doesn't it, Coach?
Absolutely. And especially in these days of portal. I mean, when you've got a bunch of guys who've been in your program for 3 years and have played some, it's almost unheard of now.
Yeah, it really is. Dave, you know, you talked about those teams that meet all the numbers, top 25 offense and defensive categories.
Yep.
And when I bet on games, I don't think about where the game's being played. I just don't, because that's interference that gets in the way. Texas going on the road with Arch Manning. And I heard someone saying on a national show yesterday, I don't know who it was. He said, this is how crazy it is. We're already talking about, you know, will he come back next year? He hasn't even started his first game. That's how far out in front of our skis we are. And I know, Coach Cordelli, you'd be going nuts if people, you'd be telling your quarterback, don't listen to that stuff. Dave, what do you think will happen in all likelihood with Arch based on your predictive behavior models?
Oh, in all likelihood? Oh, come on. That's easy, man. He's going to fail.
Wow.
Right? That's the easiest bet ever. You know, I mean, you know how hard it is to become an NFL quarterback?
Yeah.
That is really, really hard. It's easy to just sit here and go, he's going to fail. But I'd say that about everybody. As I've said before, though, if he goes 12 games at Texas, or 13, if they go in a playoffs, championship game, whatever, if he goes a single season at Texas and leaves, I will 100% bet against that guy. I will bet against that guy every time. I said, don't draft Trey Lance. I said, don't draft Mac Jones. Don't draft Mitch Trubisky. Don't draft these guys. Right? It's that easy. Well, what about his tools? Yeah, great. I have awesome bow hunting, elk hunting tools. And I kill one every other year. I'm never as successful as I want to be. It doesn't matter if you have the tools, in so much as, do you have the snaps? Do you have it up here? Arch Manning is not getting it up here at Texas in 1 year, probably not even 2 years. Right? I would love to see him stay there 3 years, but I know the money in his name produces a big paycheck. But I would bet against Arch Manning after 1 year. I'd probably bet against him after 2 years, because I don't like where he's at. He's at a program that is surrounded by elite talent. He doesn't have to, his feet aren't ever going to be to the fire. He has a 5-star offensive coordinator. That coordinator makes everybody back. Steve Sarkisian can make all of us look good on the field, right? You know, so I don't think he's in a good place to be successful, and to learn the position. And I know his last name, but just because you're rubbing shoulders with people doesn't mean that rubs off, right? You're born with it. You're born with it. So, all things being said, I have no problem betting against Arch Manning. Now, the one guy I would bet on, okay, just to go the other direction, the guy nobody's talking about, is Levitt at Arizona State. He was +5 games quarterback effect last year. They lost a ton of guys on offense. His offensive coordinator has not been good without an NFL quarterback. If Arizona State ends the season in the top 25 again this year, Sam Levitt will be the #1 quarterback taken out of his draft class, and I give him a huge success rate in the NFL of chances if he's healthy.
Yeah, we just got a few more minutes. We're going long today on this Monday with Ellis Johnson, Pete Cordelli, Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, executive producer Brendan Martin. We follow the lead. These kind of numbers, Coach, before we wrap it up, when you think about people look at a kid as a 5-star coming out of high school, how frustrating when they came in was it for them to all of a sudden, you know, hey, I was the best player on my team. Well, welcome to practice. There's 120 other guys out here who are the best player on their team. Some can handle it. I know Byron Cowart struggled at Auburn, and legend has it that Montravius Adams introduced him to college football at practice one day about, you know, saying how great a player you are. He goes, well, I'm from Vienna, Georgia, Dooley County High School. You recruited Montravius, Coach Johnson, but isn't that a tough learning curve?
I was just in the car with Rodney when he recruited him. So
okay,
but
okay, give yourself some credit, Coach. Hey, I got to tell you,
I approved him.
Okay, there you go. I I approved him. I mean, I love that. But man, this is fun stuff. All right, Pete, you got the book out, Making the Grade. We put the QR code up there. We'll wrap it up now, and I'm gonna say something about our sponsors. But this is one of the coolest conversations. And next week, Coach, our PhD class, Coach Johnson will be on special assignment, but Coach Cordelli will be here. We'll do this again. But Dave, tell them how they can follow you with College Football Matrix and get your service. And you see Pete's QR code. I love the picture of Coach Cordelli.
Yeah, well, I want that book. I love reading. So I want Pete's. When I get done here, I'm gonna go get that. Seriously, I will get that. I love the perspective of guys who've been on the field because I wasn't. So that's a really important part for me. But people can follow me on Twitter at CFB Matrix. The DMs are open. I love talking college football. Anybody wants to get a hold of me directly, just text me 971-217-8419. I'll take your text. Be nice. Be nice fans. Questions, comments, ideas, whatever it is. It's this was a great show, Rob, and looking forward to coming back again.
Hey, honored to have you, man. Thank you so much. Pete, same thing. You and Coach Johnson. We'll do it again next week. So have a great week, everybody. Awesome stuff. Let me say something about our sponsors. Landers Ford, folks. They're located at Poplar and Houston Levy, where Germantown and Collierville come together. When you go by, you're looking to buy a car or a truck or an SUV, it's pretty stressful for most people, the financing and all. Just ask for our good friend, Brad Bellamy. I love this guy. He's one of the most genuine, good people you're going to meet. I'm not sure if he's part of the Bellamy brothers in that, family, but I've never asked him to sing. But they're open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They will take care of you and do everything they can to get you behind the wheel of a new car, truck, or SUV. And the service department, if you got to have your car or truck worked on, they'll come pick you up at home or at your office, provide round-trip transportation. Look, Kent Ritchie, Don Kitchens, the whole team. If you hadn't bought your last vehicle from Landers, you probably paid too much. Rings true. The Expeditions, the Broncos, everything, they got them. Right down the street from Hewlett and Dunn, Boot and Clothing Company. Look, get out there and get you these new pants, Genteel pants. They just came in. They make the polos. And I know out there right now they've got Alabama, Tennessee, Memphis, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Auburn polos there to go with these Genteel pants and polos. And over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Barber, Filson, STS. They've got incredible luggage out there. T-shirts, hoodies, all the fall stuff is starting to come in the next few weeks. And man, you hadn't seen inventory like this. Again, Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, hewlettandunn.com. Ask Brendan, when you get a package from them, it's special. It's from a special place. And look, Hewlett and Dunn on Instagram, Boot of the Week. Charles Hall, Raven Carpenter, Laura Hall, Squidward, Lydia, everybody out there, great people, love Hewlett and Dunn. And Rumble Boxing. Hey, how you fight is how you live. Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis, 48 boxing bags and weight sets. You will work out 45 minutes. They're open every day of the week, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. Check the schedule for when the classes are being taught. Ann Camp Lee, love her, great people. And like Vanelli's Deli, hey, most often we see the face of Christ, at least among us. Watch this channel. Thank you for watching. We're a little long today. Appreciate everything. For executive producer Brendan Martin, who is the best in the world, I'm Rob Brown. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.